Hi, and welcome back to these videos where I would like to speak about the book that this newsletter is about and that you can see behind me in the screen, the background, as well as what I'm holding here. And what I want to do in these videos is to follow up on the last video where I gave a broad overview of the book. And I would like over the next weeks to provide a summary of each chapter. A few words before I go on, I would like to say that the reason why I'm promoting this book is not only is it fun to learn all of the skills that are involved in producing a book. Thank you, Amazon and Kindle, the Kindle platform for providing really excellent tools with our smartphones these days and our computers. We really, each one of us has a complete publishing and media empire at our command. Um, what's most difficult, as anyone who's tried to do this knows, is of course reaching people in a completely saturated environment such as we now have. But the reason why I'm doing this isn't because I want to build a big business and make a lot of money and to become famous. Those really are not really my concerns, actually. But my concern, my interest is to simply share some of the insights that I've learned about the spiritual life over the last decades. And the reason why I feel the need to do that is because, as a person who has trained and studied in multiple religious traditions over the last decades, I really do think that the spiritual life and its practices lead to a deep flowering in our consciousness of an awareness of the divine that is not touched by mortality and by the everyday weaknesses and concerns and that overwhelm us at times. I really do think that it is the destiny of human beings to ascend from material embodied consciousness into divine consciousness, which is the ground of life. Not only do I think it is something that we can do, it's not just a hobby, it's not just something that we take up in our spare time. I think actually it is the deeply encoded message of our lives that we should use this life that we have as an opportunity to transcend to subtler levels of existence. As permanent as this world in which we live might seem, it really is an inconstant place, and it's an unreliable and certainly not a stable foundation on which to build our existence. And this is the reason why throughout human history, even before recorded history, spiritual practices that have given rise to various religious movements have always appeared or revealed themselves or somehow or other awakened within human consciousness. We've never been without spirituality because our essential nature is spiritual. Um, and of course, from these spiritual practices, different religious movements have arisen. And religions can be very helpful. They can also, of course, hinder us in our spiritual development as well. Often in their earliest flowerings, religious movements are quite extraordinary. And in their later institutional phases, they give rise naturally to new spiritual movements that modify them or move beyond them. Today, we live in a time of unprecedented spiritual freedom and in many parts of the world. And it's not clear how long that this epoch of extraordinary spiritual freedom and creativity will last. And so in this time, it's imperative actually for us to go more deeply into these traditions to find what's the best in them, to practice them, and to offer them to coming generations, perhaps to coming generations when this experience of extraordinary creativity and freedom will no longer be available to us. So I think that's enough for this video for this week. I don't want to overwhelm everyone with a lot of words. There's so much media out there that we can consume. But what I really do want to say is that these videos and this newsletter and this book really are ultimately oriented towards awakening within us the kind of consciousness that we find expressed profoundly in the Upanishads. And I'll close with a passage from the Katha Upanishad, which I recently translated. While meditating on the majestic, all-pervasive self, which is the bodiless element in those who have bodies, and the constant element in things that are unreliable, the person who is steady in wisdom is not downhearted. And so I look forward to seeing you again at the newsletter next week. Be well.